Hey, Secrets Readers, this is Carlo LaRosso, Editor-in-Chief, and I always forget at the beginning of these videos to do this, so I'm going to do it now. But I just want to say thank you so much for both visiting our website and our YouTube channel. And if you happen to like this video you're about to see, or any of the other ones that you happen to come across on our channel, please feel free to give us a like, and if you'd be so kind as to sign up and subscribe. That way, whenever we get new content out on the site, you will, or on YouTube, you will be the first to know, and we can keep you in the loop of any of the cool new things that we've been up to and are going to be reporting on. So thank you very much for that. Last week, I happened to find myself in New York City, where I was invited to attend the unveiling of a rather special uber luxury loudspeaker. It was a pretty interesting event because it took place at the very overused word, but totally applicable now, legendary Power Station Recording Studios in Manhattan. The speaker that was launched is by a company called ONEIROS, brand new company, and it is put together and run by two folks who are the same principals at Falcon Acoustics, and that is Jerry Bloomfield and Graeme. Yeah, this was a really interesting experience because this loudspeaker is very unique on a number of different levels. Jerry, back last year at the Florida Audio Expo, I visited Jerry and Graeme at the Falcon Acoustics booth, and Jerry took me aside, as he did with a number of members of the press, and kind of teased this sort of little side hustle project he was working on called ONEIROS, and he happened to show me some of the renders that they had been working on and developing and stuff. And if you're familiar with Falcon Acoustics, you know that the speakers they produce are, rather sort of traditional looking, lovely wood boxes, very British, very, classically beautiful, but classic box, fine wood loudspeakers, which sound great. So when Jerry showed me the initial renders, I was like, this was like 360 degrees plus another 180 degrees different from anything I've been used to seeing from these guys. Now, this is a whole separate company, so it's not affiliated with Falcon. It's a whole separate company with very different product brief and target market. But when I first saw these renders, the first thing I thought to myself was like, you guys are like, bat you know what crazy. Because I had, I had, let's put it this way, I had a healthy dose of skepticism that something would come with this, because this is a huge deal. And a big change from what we've seen from these folks. Fast forward a year later, and I get invited to the unveiling and check it out. And I gotta say, I have to tip my hat to these guys, because they had two sets of these beautiful, sculptural, there's no other word to say it, but voluptuous looking speakers that were about, just shy of, about 5.5, they're about 5.5 feet. Each one weighs 265 pounds, three-way design. You'll hear in the Q&A about all the specifics about the high-end design and a lot of Formula One derived technology regarding the enclosure and the drivers that's been, leveraged in these things. So these are not cheap speakers, not by a long shot. The price is, for a pair of these, is an eye-watering 650 grand US for a stock set of these speakers. There is also going to be a bespoke design program that's going to be available, where a potential customer can customize a pair of these babies to however they want, with whatever, you know, color choices and available materials that they want. So they've gone like super luxury, high end with this thing. And another thing that made the event really special, being at Power Station, was if any of you from know the band Living Colour, I definitely remember them. They're from my generation. They were in the house at Power Station, and they agreed to do a record an acoustic set there, which was going to be recorded and monitored over those speakers, a pair of those speakers. And then once an initial rough mix was done, a bunch of us would get a chance to sit in with the other pair of speakers in in one of the listening rooms at Power Station and listen to the results. So we sat in for the recording and we sat in for the listening session. It was really unique, a really unique experience. I'll let you watch the video and see the speakers for yourself, the design and everything, and hear Jerry and Graeme talk about all the technical and design aspects and stuff that they went through with these coming up with these beautiful things. But with all the caveats in place, because, you know, we are in a recording studio, with a professional recording studio with, you know, acoustically idealized rooms. All that aside, and with that in mind, they sounded really good. I mean, really, really good. No subwoofer required for these things, but you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens when you know, if someone is able to get a pair of these in a room, in a regular room, and see what happens. But I gotta tip my hat off to these guys. They made me eat my words, and that's they've come up with something real special. So check out the video for yourself, and hope you enjoy it.
Graeme and Jerry, can you give us the origin story? What got the idea started?
We've been sitting around, kicking this sort of idea around for quite a while. We wanted to do something that actually enabled us to, if you like, open out our vision of what we wanted a loudspeaker to be. We've been involved, both of us, over the years in building speakers, which were always boxes, and it was nice to do something different. And so that was the starting point. And I wanted to do something with a much more organic shape to it as well, because I just think it's more interesting on an emotional and at an aesthetic level to have something that's not square and sitting on stands in a room. And that was the starting point.
And I wanted to do something in carbon fibre for the last 25 years. Been dabbling in making the odd speaker here and there as prototypes. And this is the first time to really go big.
Yeah, and I was mad enough to agree to his idea.
That being said, Graeme, could you please describe for us the specifics of the cabinet construction?
Within reason, yes.
Yes.
We're bound by NDAs on it for some of it, so we have to be very careful.
It is a pure carbon fibre monocoque. What I mean by that is the drive units and everything are mounted to the skin of the loudspeaker. There's no extra panels, bracing. It is the entire definition of what a monocoque is. So,
which is a
yeah,
very stiff light.
Yeah, where everything is mounted to a single surface, I think is the definition.
And what's the acoustical benefit of something like that?
It's very rigid, but it's also very inert.
Yeah, it's very inert, and also in terms of the ability to shape it, you're not dealing with sort of conventional treatment of a loudspeaker, which we do in a boxed enclosure. This has its own intrinsic qualities, and actually, acoustically, it's a much more satisfactory shape than any of the sort of traditional furniture shapes that the industry works with.
Now, when you say monocoque construction, I mean, that's the sort of stuff that you hear when people talk about Formula One
exactly
racing, and that's in construction of Formula One cars.
It's basically constructed the same way.
Yeah.
Wow.
We make the back half, and we make the front, and then the two are bonded together.
Very wild.
And in terms of construction, it's exactly like a Formula One car. You have a layer of carbon fibre, you have a sandwich, and another layer of carbon fibre in between. Another layer of carbon fibre to finish it.
And those technologies obviously are adaptable and perform well in an acoustic sense.
Acoustically, they're a very, very nice way of dealing with it.
Very cool.
You don't get, for example, the same sort of rear waves, you don't get the same sort of rear standing wave problems or anything like that. You've got to remember also that we were testing the cabinet. We wanted to make sure the cabinet was good. It's had 100 hours of FEA finite analysis on this.
Yeah, he did that before he'd write the check.
Yeah,
I was confident in the construction,
Oh man.
but it was a lot of money, and
but
Jerry
it's-
was like, back us up.
I took the view that this thing should work, and I wanted to make sure that we had backup, that we'd actually tested the concept.
Mm-hmm.
I've used the word robust in some of the material that we've written on this, and it stood up incredibly robustly, and you could see it was going to work very, very well. Yeah, the woofers are a dual layer carbon Twirone graphene impregnated woofer, which we build ourselves in-house. The mid-ranges are Dyneema mid-range, which are made for us, and the tweeter
which is also graphene impregnated.
Which is also graphene impregnated, and there's a 1-inch diamond dome tweeter in there.
Which, by the way, the graphene impregnated, it's not like other people that use what they call graphene drivers where they coat it with graphene.
Yeah.
This actually has graphene inherent in the material.
Everything we do stems from what's around us, which is Formula One. So the people we tend to work with are working with what's called pre-preg fabric. So the resin is already in the fabric. And when you add the graphene to the resin, you basically create a cross-link sort of surface area, so you can get a stiffer composite without increasing the thickness, hence increasing the weight. So that's the way we use graphene. It's not, magic woo-woo. It's purely there as a structural part of the resin matrix.
Basic nuts and bolts question. What's the frequency extension, the base extension of these speakers, and what kind of power do you need to drive them?
We get them down very comfortably to about -3 at 20, but they will go down a little bit further. But I'm not even going to boast about it. So that's what we did, because
Sufficient, basically.
more than sufficient. Put it that way. Yeah. We just left it. We know what it does. And it does a bit more than that. Of course, depending on where the placement is in the room, etc., all the usual caveats on that.
Right. Now, Walter said they were efficient enough that you could use a tube amp, but
90 dB.
90 dB.
Yeah,
All right.
like I said, not a single-ended triode 5-watt amp.
Right.
You need at least a 50 or 100 watt per channel.
We actually say 100 watts to give it a
100
bit of
watts.
bass. We want to see a bit of bass headroom and a bit of bass control on that. And
Very
they start
good.
to sing at that point.
Very nice.
And what about the tweeters? It's not a diamond-coated tweeter.
No, it's a
deposited diamond.
it's a CVD diamond, so a pressure grown diamond.
It's a real diamond.
Yeah. So if you drop it, it's gonna smash.
It smashes. It breaks.
What's the enclosure loading type?
It's a reflex. So there's 2 ports behind these grills.
Yeah.
So it's front facing.
And look, metalwork that won't make you bleed. This is so finely finished. Every little detail of this speaker is just mind-blowing.
Even the grills on the ports are actually made out of a solid block of aluminium and machined.
What's the weight, Jerry?
The weight?
Yeah.
Gosh.
270 pounds per speaker.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Now, wait, you had mentioned about that, jumping off what you mentioned about the aluminum or aluminium front baffle. It starts out like
1,100 pound block,
It's 1,100
machined to
pounds.
40 pounds.
Yeah.
so it gets CNC machined down from 1,100 pounds to 40.
Well, that's because of the angle, so you have to start with a big block to make this smaller block.
I mean, I have to say, I sat there and I looked at it when it came in, and I thought, that's a lot of aluminium. And then what came out of it, I thought,
It's a lot of
Do you know what my next question was? What happens to the waste? Do we get
Right.
back from that?
Sadly, if you knew the cost of the billet
Yeah.
and you knew the cost of the waste, Not proportional in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that was one of the things he decided not to tell me.
You've got the crossover over here, but is there something special about that other than that it's giant?
No, it's just giant. They're the best possible components that we can get in that fit inside it. It's as simple as that. We started off with a certain level. We wanted to go to Mundorf because, truthfully, they make the best stuff that's around at the moment. And also, in terms of the marketing, it's a name that everybody knows, so it's a recognition of the quality of what you're trying to do. We did the first one, and then I said, well, can we make it better? Not because it needed it, but because can we make it better?
Yeah, it was originally on 2 PCBs, and then Jerry up-spec'd all the capacitors, which made them bigger.
Sorry.
So then it wouldn't fit on 2 PCBs, so then
Jerry.
it had to go on to 3.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting. Again, we spend a lot of time on this. We're talking qualitative approach here. If you look at this crossover, if you can pick it up, Walter, I don't know.
I'm going to.
How you
As soon as we get done with the photography.
Someone give Walter a back brace quickly.
Because it's kind of heavy. You're allowed to curse.
Don't curse, get prescriptions.
We're not passing it around.
But what I would like to draw you to, again, is a qualitative approach. I mean, you'll find that a lot of manufacturers will just have these done with cable clips and things like that, just to hold everything in place. We've actually custom made inductor holders to the specific inductors, so they're actually there. They're locked in solid. They're not going to move. They're supported all the way through. And that struck us as being the right way to do it. If you're going to have something where you just say, we want to make the best you possibly can, you go that extra inch to make it work.
Even down to like the thickness of the PCB itself. Most manufacturers 1.6 mil on a PCB. They're 3.2.
Yeah.
Because the weight on them, if you try and put that much weight on a lightweight board, you're just going to bend it.
Yeah.
And I've seen pictures of other people's crossovers where they're bent.
But the other thing I'd point out to you again is these are actually mounted on anti-vibration mounts. They're not bolted onto any old bit of crud lying around inside it. The whole thing is a very deliberate design profile to actually fit inside the cabinet. And so everything from this point onwards, this side here normally has an anti-vibration mount. It's going right the way through to give the maximum degree of isolation from the rest of the cabinet at the same
Can you
time.
have it?
This is like holding a V4 engine.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a V4 engine.
Yeah, it does look a V, yeah.
But it's
I'm just amazed at the level of detail. It's going to the point where you're building custom holders for.
well, I think it's the right.
components.
We think it's the right thing to do.
It's just
as
amazing.
simple as that. It costs a bit of money.
And
It makes the product work better, and
Red anodized heat sinks. Brilliant.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
in your metric, there's second order slopes all throughout?
Yeah.
Okay. 3-way design?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very nice.
Any particular thought or attention to how the speaker integrates with the acoustics of the user's room?
These are very easy to place. The off-axis response is phenomenal. I mean, you can be 45 degrees off axis, and we're minus
We're about 1.5 dB
1.5 to 2 dB down. At that,
At 45 degrees off axis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. Part of that is because we're using dome mid-range on that rather than a cone which squirts a bit anyway.
Right.
But also, the actual finishing part on the aluminium well helps with that.
Okay.
And when we sat down and we did the final measurements, and we looked at the final measurements of the off-axis response, and we had somebody come in to check our figures. One of the old-fashioned British people who, if he didn't like it, he would just suck his teeth in slightly and go, not sure about this. But he said, that's not bad. In British terms, of course, actually it works. But the whole thing is integrated very well, and that was the purpose behind it. But so to answer your question, Tom, in terms of placement, it's not mission critical. You don't have to sort of toe things in at an angle.
We've also got
a
a 6-degree angle on the tweeter. So the further back you are, normally you'll be, if you're at the back of a room, you're way above the tweeter. But because of the angle, we can actually calculate the height.
Yeah.
And then you've got a 30 sort of degree window where you're still within, half a dB of response.
That's amazing.
So what kind of options does a customer have when they come to you and order something like this?
What we've done is what we've got coming is what we're calling a custom configurator. Essentially, what the customer will have is a set of what we're calling standard colours, for want of a better way of putting it. You can up-spec from that to a further range of custom colours. You can also have custom finishes on the front and on the foot. You can have really whatever you like with it. We will also offer a custom consultation service if people don't want to actually fit these into a particular room. So you can go online and look at what is available, to you. If you want a one-to-one configuration consultation with our colour consultant, you're very welcome to have that. She's done years of work for Jaguar Land Rover, and she will have all of the answers available to you online.
She actually planned the color scheme, exterior and interior for Land Rover and Jaguar.
Nice.
Five generations of Range Rover she did.
Yeah. So she's available to potential customers. So essentially, from the point of view of paint finishes and finishes on the aluminium, what do you want? We can do it.
We also offer veneer.
Yeah,
This
Veneer?
can be veneer. Yeah.
Let me talk about the veneer. We offer veneer service. Some people want veneer on these. That's fine. It can only be done by one place in Germany because of the shape.
On the whole planet, by the way. One place in Germany, on the planet.
I'm afraid to ask what the upcharge for that would be.
We know what it is, but we're not going to tell you.
It's not cheap, but for what you get, it's not expensive. You can have virtually any veneer you want. We can do you a burr. It costs more because burrs cost more because it's got a higher wastage factor. But essentially, the veneer is cut and then backed and moulded into the literally floated onto the camera. And there's a place in Germany that does this. And we said to them, "Are you interested?" "Oh yes."
Oh yes.
They call it 3D veneer.
Wow.
But I emphasise, it's not engineered veneer in the sort of the plastic.
Natural.
It's a natural wood veneer. You can go, for example, and say, let's say for sake of argument, I've got a nice set of bookshelves in whatever it is. Can my speakers match that? Subject to availability, yes.
Having now worked with the lady that did recommended the colour and trim, her background was the automotive, obviously Jaguar Land Rover, and she was involved in creating Range Rover's commissioning suite. And she said, "This is how you should really sell this." So what there will be, dealers will have a commissioning case, and in there will be, we're going to call them eggs because they are. They're going to be machined aluminium, and they will be in 3 parts. There will be a base, which will match the finishes available for the base. There will be a back half, which will be veneered or painted in the colours. And then there will be the front half, which is anodized in the various colours and textures.
Because you can get this in different finishes for an upcharge as well.
Wow.
And so they will all be available in trays, and then the dealer and the customer can put them together, and you will hold basically an egg which will weigh about 1.5 pounds, and you can feel and see the textures just as you can feel the textures in this. And it's, rather than just doing a colour chip or a veneer block, it'll actually be something that shows the amount of work we put into this in a smaller scale.
Also, an essential feature of that, I think, is that the surface you're talking about is curved.
Yes.
So the way it reflects light varies the way that.
So if you're going to have this has got the polished base. So when you put the polished base on, and then you put it with a graphite pearl black back, and then maybe you want it with a gold satin gold front or a polished front, you can actually see physically how the interplay between the textures and the finishes. It's very much how the automotive industry does this, and it's there's a reason they do it. It's a very successful way of selling expensive vehicles.
Inexpensive options.
Yes.
Yeah. It also gives you the ability to see what the paint is doing. Because actually, if you walk by these in a better light than we've got in here, you'll see the paint is actually going in lines along it.
The colour flip on these
it's just wonderful because you can walk around it and you can see this sort of play of light on it at the same time going around, and you just think that's beautiful.
Almost kind of iridescent, kind of in a way.
I spent ages just choosing the paint and give the right effect. You should see the number of times we did it, and it was just. And then you suddenly saw you've got one, and it actually worked. You remember we both sat down and we looked at it and said, "That's beautiful." That's exactly
Our
what we
paint
want.
finishes are done by BASF, and when we go back next week, the week after, we're going back to BASF Labs to formulate the final colours.
Wow.
It's quite fun, you know.
So they're all,
You don't say.
It sounds all
Yeah,
very business-like, but it's great fun.
That's
and
cool.
It's very nice also. You're working with all these people who work in these sort of high-powered industries, and you bring them something like this, and they look at it and they just go, "Oh, we want to get involved with that." And you just harness this enthusiasm for it, and it's great.
There's a lot of companies that we can't talk and tell you the name of,
Yeah, sadly
but
not.
just think about F1, think about a whole bunch of other
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
things. And
cabinets
those
are
the
made
companies.
by an F1 contractor. Machining and finishing is carried out by a tier 1 luxury automotive supplier. And I mean, well, they state on their website, so that, you know, they do Rolls-Royce, Singer, McLaren, Bentley.
It's a lovely halo project for a lot of people. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of,
Diversification for them.
and like on the F1 side, the F1 contractor, they can't talk about what they do because it's all under NDA. So they can't, if they post a picture of a part they've made for one of the 5 teams they supply, they get jumped on and they could lose their contract. So they're more than happy to make this in carbon, as long as they can, you know, can we use the picture? Yeah, sure. We don't mind.
Yeah, but I mean, we're subject to NDAs on who we're working with.
So then again, another basic bolts question: what's the MSRP on a pair of these things before you start going crazy with options?
650,000 US.
All right, very cool. I'm assuming the dealer then obviously works with the customer for like installation and setting up and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, white glove treatment all the way, delivery, setup. We have all of this in place in terms of marketing and a sales network and all these things, which we will be disclosing in the next month to 45 days.
I think the other thing, just sort of generally reassure anybody who is interested in it, is that we've actually got a US service centre set up now. So if something goes wrong, you're not reliant on shipping it back to the UK. We have the facilities, or we're just setting it up, but we will have the facilities here where we can tackle cabinets.
That's huge. That's
As a
really,
matter of fact, we had a couple of little touch-ups necessary today, and they were here touching the cabinet up today. And by the way, this facility also works with multiples of other ultra-luxury audio companies. So it's not just a fly-by-night operation.
Cool.
I mean, we're trying to cover that aspect of it as well, because it is a different technology.
Right.
And I think you've got to give everybody confidence that if something happens, and what I'm confidently expecting is if somebody's going to hit it with a vacuum cleaner handle or something like that. I mean, it's human nature.
Right.
And there's going to be a mark, and they're not going to want that mark there. So we've got to be able to fix it.
Right.
And that facility exists in the US now for us to be able to do that.
All right, get scared. Red lights are on.
I love it. What?
So what do you think? Pretty wild, right? Yeah, they are a really, really unique looking and just beautifully designed loudspeaker, at least to my eyes. And ONEIROS is definitely making a play for the uber high-end market with these babies. Anyway, I wish Jerry and Graeme the best of luck with these, along with Walter Swanbon and Walter Schofield, who were also there. Thanks so much to everyone for the invitation to come out and see these things and hear them one-on-one. It was a great experience, and loved visiting Power Station. So thank you very much for watching, everyone, and hope you enjoy, and all the best to you. Take care. Bye.